Hey, good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Marta Sapecki, Interim Assistant General Manager of Communications for RTD. There's been a lot of interest about what's going on at Denver Union Station. And this past Tuesday at our RTD Board of Directors meeting, our RTD GM and General Manager and CEO Deborah Johnson outlined a plan on how to address those challenges. So Ms. Johnson will share some more detail with you today about the plan, and you can ask any question you like, and there will be an opportunity to do one-on-one interviews afterwards as well. So with that, please welcome Deborah Johnson.
So thank you, Marta, and I want to thank all of you for coming this morning. Restoring a welcoming environment and ensuring the safety and security of our employees, our customers, and everyone who visits and lives or works near Denver Union Station is a top priority. Recognizing that there are unwanted activities taking place at Denver Union Station and the surrounding areas, RTD has partnered with the City and County of Denver, the Denver Police Department, the Department of Public Safety, and other stakeholders to address the challenges that we face there. Based upon a crime prevention through environmental design analysis performed by the Denver Police Department, RTD is pursuing a myriad of initiatives, both short, mid, and long term. We have already begun to increase the cleaning frequency of windows, floors, and boarding areas. The ceilings and walls are also being cleaned. Burned out lamps have been replaced, and landscaping activities are set to resume as soon as the snow season ends, and that's out on the campus. So no later than mid-April, pre-recorded announcements will be broadcast in English and Spanish within the bus concourse, which will include information on services, fares, the availability of the Transit Watch app, public safety, and also the discouraging of unwanted activities. Now, first, I want to encourage everyone to download the free Transit Watch app from either the Android or Apple App Store so that you can report illegal drug use, destructive or disorderly behavior, or other inappropriate or suspicious conduct. Additionally, enter and exit signage decals will be affixed to the sliding doors leading to the concourse in order to facilitate customer flow. Electrical outlets throughout the bus concourse and the walkway areas are currently being deactivated or covered. Lighting will be upgraded in the concourse in the exterior and interior. Beginning no later than the end of the summer, TV monitors displaying security camera feeds will be installed at the main entrances so that security personnel on the ground can observe activities occurring throughout the facility and will be integrated into RTD's closed-circuit TV system. Also taking place this summer, the commuter rail platform stairs will be converted to emergency exit only. Barriers will be installed to prevent access to areas between the elevators and the glass walls at the Wewata and Chestnut pavilions. Floor decals and signage will be installed to encourage movement and discourage loitering. Restrooms will be restored to service and smoke detectors will be installed. And one thing I do want to qualify for everyone, because I've heard a lot of conversations about RTD's actions relative to closing the restrooms. That decision was made by me on Friday, December 3rd, to close the restrooms out of an abundance of caution, to have them thoroughly cleaned and returned to a state of good repair. Now, the intent was to reopen them in January once the permanent doors had been designed, or I should say had been installed, because there was a design that was done. But due to supply chain issues, RTD's rigorous procurement standards, and the need to implement a subsequent redesign, the reopening has taken longer than anticipated. I expect the restrooms will be made available again within the second quarter of 2022. In the longer term, recognizing RTD is a public entity, we must ensure open and fair competition. As such, we will leverage our procurement processes to ensure we have qualified contractors to assist in upgrading the designs to the bus concourse. These contractors will design and install physical enhancements within the bus concourse, upgrade the fare media system to accommodate customer access, and integrate components to ensure consistency of operation. Paid fare areas will be implemented. Now, this means that only those individuals who present appropriate fare media will have access to the bus concourse. While the creation of a paid fare area is likely the most impactful change that can be implemented to curtail the unwanted activities taking place in and around Denver Union Station, I want to stress that this is a significant change to our current operations and must be done in a coordinated and diligent manner. The agency will need to implement changes to fare collection so that individuals can purchase fare media prior to entering the bus concourse, whereas currently, those departing from the concourse purchase fares aboard buses. Additionally, turnstiles, exit gates, or similar must be installed at the entryways to the concourse. And then more so, in order to activate the exit gates, all of RTD's fare media, including paper tickets, transit passes, mobile tickets, and our eco passes will need to be updated, and the agency will engage in a public outreach campaign to inform and educate customers regarding these changes. I do want to stress, in addition to the paid fare area that I spoke of, roll-up doors to the bus entrances will further prevent unauthorized access to the concourse, and we expect those to be designed and implemented by the end of the calendar year. Keeping in mind that there could be supply chain issues, I just want to temper everyone's expectations. Now, while these changes, along with an increased police presence, will have positive ripple effects throughout the transit system, the unwanted activities impacting the agency are a byproduct of complex societal issues that RTD alone cannot solve. And that is why mitigating these challenges will require an all-in effort among RTD, community, municipal, and legislative partners. So that concludes my formal remarks. I am happy to address any questions that you may have. Thank you. So right now, we have some conceptual designs, and we're talking millions, and it could be anywhere roughly between 10 to 15, recognizing we are going to procure support from a consultant that will help assess and analyze, so we will have a more clear-cut estimate as we go forward with the process.
And what's the full time frame for all of these to be implemented, do you think?
So I'm thinking collectively with everything, it could be anywhere from 12 months holistically to about maybe 16 to 18, but that's contingent upon where we are collectively with supply chain and all these other factors. So I would hope it would be no more than 12 months. Yes.
Meantime, before that 12 to 16 months to 18, what's being done to kind of ramp up safety?
So could you qualify that more when you say ramp up safety?
You know, these improvements sound amazing. So in the interim right now, in the next 12 to 16 months, is there going to be heightened security continuing? What's going to be happening to ensure safety?
So there's a myriad of different things. I'm talking about the paid fare area that really is the crux of that time period. So recognizing that there's a myriad of different activities, it's almost April 1st that we anticipate taking place in the summer. So as we talk about limiting the access relative to the stairwells, for instance, being emergency exits only, that will take place in the summer. There's configuration that needs to be done. And so just for everyone's edification, currently there's 7 access points to the bus concourse. So as we talk about the roll-up doors, that constitute 2 entrance points. Then we have the stairwell. And so the fare area will basically control 3 access points. So to the point that you raised, those are the intermediate steps in which we're taking, for instance, as we go forward. And basically with the entrance and exits, as we talk about putting decals there to encourage pedestrian flow, that's another critical factor as well as we go forward in limiting the space between those entrance points, the doors, and the area adjacent to the elevators. That will also curtail the behavior that we currently see with the loitering. And then more so as we go forward with our transit security police here at the agency, we are looking at deploying post-related assignments. So we would have a bus riding team, and we would have people assigned to rail as well as to facilities as a whole. So those types of initiatives will enhance the whole aspect of creating a welcoming environment at the DUS campus. Yes.
We've seen these same security concerns and public health concerns show up in different parts of the city. You know, the chairs with bike paths, you can a civic center car. Now we're at a transportation hub. Can you talk about the larger impact it has for the city that it's now centered here at the Union Station bus concourse?
Thank you very much for the question. I'd like to first preface the statement by saying that public transportation is interwoven into the fabric of a community. So whatever is plaguing that community in which you're providing services quite naturally will roll over on public transit. And as I said in my comments, recognizing wholeheartedly that these are societal issues, that's why we're working collectively. And so the issues that we see here are no different at a Starbucks when people are loitering about, for lack of a better word. So working in earnest to create an atmosphere that is welcoming, but it's important that we do that with firm compassion as we go forward. That's why working with not just the city and county of Denver, because RTD, the operative letter there is R, which stands for regional. It's a regional issue. So it's not indigenous to the city and county of Denver, so we're going to have to work in tandem with the communities in which we serve because these are prevalent as well. And so it's going to take all hands on deck. I believe there's a willingness to do so in the community with stakeholders, business leaders, and it will require legislators to take a stance as well. RTD is primed and ready to lean into that, as you can clearly see with us talking about it today. Yes.
What do you need from the legislature?
So when we talk about the legislature just holistically, what is happening as we look at people in need? As I talked about firm compassion, there's people that need services. Perhaps there's legislation that can be effectuated that will help address that as we go forward. Because while we're in the business of providing public transportation, I have a myriad of experience in that realm and being a public administrator in this space, but I am not a mental health care clinician nor a social worker. So the part of it involving everyone is having that subject matter expertise readily available, because this is paramount to our society holistically as we look to ensure that people feel valued and that they're not limited to where they can congregate. Yes.
I know that we're talking about the bus terminal, and we're talking about the 7 entry points going in there and keeping people who shouldn't be there out, I guess, to avoid danger. What about the area surrounding the bus terminal, right outside of it? Is there anything that's going to be done there? I guess, is that technically the campus still?
So help me understand your question a little further, please.
So like right around the bus terminal, right?
Mhm.
Outside of it.
The plaza areas you're talking,
Yeah.
yes,
Is that you guys, like, are you gonna, is that gonna carry out around that area as well, or just inside?
So as I stated, as we talk about deploying security and ambassadors and things of the like, I talked about facilities. That is part of a facility holistically, looking to leverage roving patrols just in general, and quite naturally working in partnership with those that are residing in the area. There's a myriad of different neighborhood associations and business groups that have concerns collectively as relates to those areas. So we need to partner as we go forward, looking at creating a welcoming and inviting downtown.
Is there any worry that by kicking these people out of the bus terminal that they might migrate over to, say, the train station? And just kind of loiter over there?
So train station, help me with.
The Union Station light rail station.
so across the street and so forth. So recognizing, as I just addressed, that collectively that is the entire area we're talking about, and with the flow. So as we talk about, and I wouldn't qualify it as kicking people out, what we're talking about is ensuring that people that are utilizing our services can access the entry points so they can basically be able to get to places where they need to go in a safe and secure manner. So holistically, as I was speaking, this is a collective effort, because as we talk about the surrounding areas, RTD has the responsibility of transporting people, and that's our core mission, to make lives better through connections. And in doing so, it's the partnership aspect, because we do not have jurisdiction and auspices relative to those outlying areas per se, but recognizing that we are committed and we care, and we do want to leverage firm compassion. It's the partnerships of which I spoke about in reference to anybody needing help. Yes.
This is obviously addressing one pain point here that a lot of people have spoken about, but we've heard all the stories of people riding on buses, riding on trains, running into problems, people smoking drugs or doing something illegal. How do you plan to address that? I know there's limited amounts that you can do with the reclassification of a number of felonies down to misdemeanors, not being able to take people in on bond, but can you address those as well, or do you have to limit yourself to just your physical structure right now?
So I believe that's a very fair question. And as I was speaking about having deployment teams where folks are riding, now keeping in mind that this is a vast system. We cover 2,342 square mile areas. So when we talk about partnerships, it's incumbent to work with the municipalities and jurisdictions of which we serve, because there could be a collective effort on that front regarding being a partner as relates to safety and security, because there's no way that we can have enough security personnel to cover every single rail car on a train consist or a bus in active deployment when we're operating transit services. So collectively, it's ensuring that we are leveraging various initiatives that we have available. We're talking about the Transit Watch app to be a partner in safety. So if somebody sees something, they can say something, because that will notify our RTD Transit Police Dispatch Center, and in turn we can deploy. We do have agreements as relates to secondary employment for police officers with other jurisdictions, and that's where that keyword partnership comes into play holistically.
What's the timeline for that?
The-
The different zones and security people?
Okay, so let me qualify. Don't want to say it's a zone. What I'm talking about is deploying transit resources where you have standard posts for security on buses, on rail. And so optimally, we were looking to leverage that by June 1st. But keeping in mind, we are in the midst of the Big Quit and the Great Recession, so it's contingent upon, quite naturally, having people come through the pipeline, because individuals have to be trained. There are certain licensures that are needed as we go forward. So I just want to ensure, while I can provide timelines, there's so many ancillary factors to keep top of mind.
As long as you brought that up, how is your employment situation now? What percentage are you, in terms of employment, compared to where you want to be?
So quite naturally, as we look at employment, I need to qualify it when you talk about where it is we want to be. So we do have vacancies as it relates to our frontline positions. For instance, when we look at our bus operator vacancy rate, we're talking close to 20%. Last I looked, which was a few days ago, was like 19.6%. When we talk about our rail operator availability, that's hovering around 9%. I'll speak to this as well. We need to have a second crew member as mandated by the Federal Railroad Administration on our commuter rail lines. That is the third party that provides the second crew members. In doing so, quite naturally, that third party has had difficulty as well attracting people to those positions. And so as we look at it holistically, recognizing we are crawling out of the pandemic, hopefully, and we're going to have a lull. Who knows what the fall will bring as we go forward, but we are working diligently to be creative as we look to shore up these workforce challenges, because it's people power that we need, and this agency has a new P3, which is our people power problem, but it's not indigenous to us collectively. It's something that we're seeing around the globe. Yes? I think when we talk about public transportation being a viable component in a community, we do have a role. Do we have the subject matter expertise? No, we don't. But recognizing the operative word in what we do is public, being public transit, I don't have the ability to pick and choose our customers because everybody deserves to utilize our system and ensure that it's fair and equitable. So with that being said, I, in my role as the Chief Executive Officer, can't sit idly by. I have an obligation to my employees and to my customers, and that's why we're leaning in and doing what we need to do collectively to ensure that we can be the integrator collectively with all these different partners and provide a space that is welcoming to the best of our ability.
Well, I'm curious too, beyond the added safety, what effect do you think this could have? Could this, for example, if it works, bring back riders? Do you think that this is necessary to up your ridership? And please do remind me where you are in terms of ridership versus pre-pandemic days.
Okay, so thank you. As we talk about customers, I think it's important, but let me qualify a couple of statements for you. Public transportation, everybody often looks as ridership as the sole metric as it deems whether or not we're successful. If ridership was the only metric, then every transit agency around the globe has failed abysmally in the past 2 years. And so I think, if anything, it's providing an environment that's welcoming and inviting and getting people to where they need to go when they need to get there. So to address the ridership aspect of your question, pre-pandemic levels in comparison to where we are now, it depends. It's around 60-65%. We see individuals utilizing our transit network on Saturdays and Sundays because necessity is the mother of invention, and so recognizing that people have been working in a remote work environment for the past 2 years, there's been ample assessments and evaluations done by forecasters and things of the like. The transit ridership is not going to come back where it was. We're talking about 80%, and keeping in mind, as one can look at the downtown just collectively, that there aren't people that are here. However, as we talk about what may happen, it is important. It's important to ask the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Should we try to, create the environment that's welcoming and inviting so people will come, or is it better to call on all people to utilize our system to help deter the unwanted activity? So I can't necessarily say if that's going to be the catalyst as relates to ridership, but I do think that there is a yearning for human interaction to engage in social settings, and coming into downtown Denver and utilizing our system, it could provide access to get you to a Rockies game, to a Denver Nuggets game, to get to the theater, to get to a night on the town, and I think that's what we're seeing collectively.
This app, so this will get people involved in making RTD or Union Station safer, essentially. When did this launch? And can you tell us a little bit more about it? It sounds really interesting.
So the Transit Watch app has been in existence, and it's not just for Denver Union Station. There's a lot of transit agencies around the country that leverage this, and it goes to the notion back when Homeland Security started, see something, say something. And so in reference to the time at which it launched, it preceded me, so I'd have to ask staff, when did Transit Watch app launch here at the agency? Okay. That's what I thought, because I know at other transit agencies I've worked, we've had that Transit Watch app for years.
Was it just maybe not known about before? Because how do you think it'll help now if it's been around for so long and we saw those issues?
Well, no, people are using it. What I'm doing is taking the opportunity for those that may not be aware, even if they're not a customer, they could apprise us of what's happening, because we have had marketing campaigns. You can get on a rail car and see a car that talks about the Transit Watch app. The announcements that I talked about that are going to be leveraged within Union Station, talks about the Transit Watch app. And there's been on commuter rail, I have seen myself as an avid customer of our services, have seen the promotion of the Transit Watch app. Okay.
Sorry, one last one. How are you going to measure success? What are you going to be able to point to in 12 months or sooner that's going to tell us whether this did what you wanted it to do?
Okay, there's a myriad of ways in which we're managing success as we go forward. We have a strategic plan, and in our strategic plan, we have 4 strategic priorities. First, community value. Second, customer excellence. Third is employee ownership. And fourth is financial success. Recognizing that our employees don't feel safe when they come to work and they're looking over their shoulder, we are engaging in a myriad of different ways through our employee engagement committee, working in tandem with our union partners, and basically we know where we're starting and we are creating metrics as we go forward. One quick assessment is looking at the decrease in calls that come in relative to what's happening. We can utilize the metrics from which we are able to obtain through our Transit Watch app. And then more specifically, as we look at our Net Promoter Score relative to our customers' perception, are they a promoter of our system or are they a detractor? Right? And so we do have a baseline Net Promoter Score, and we do have a baseline community value a score as well. So utilizing those aspects as we leverage our strat plan will enable us to garner a better understanding. And then keeping in mind too, we have to implement this. So it's going to take some time to determine if we move the needle or not. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for your time.